Wednesday morning. Is it Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday morning miracles, financial and spiritual freedom. We can talk about money. We can talk about our relationship to money and how it all relates to God at the end. So, last week, or not even last week, on Sunday, we had an amazing call. And that call, we started off talking about God's plan. God's plan is the only God's plan for salvation will work, not ours. And how all of our problems comes from us um really making it, right? I mean, we interfere there's no problems in this world really. If you look at it from a certain perspective, the universe operates and everything fits perfectly. If you look at the jungle, if you look at the animal kingdom, everything is so perfectly balanced. In the plant kingdom, everything, right? It's only when we interfere that there's a problem, and we put the problem into the place. When there is no problem, we make up that there is a problem. So that applies to really all areas of our lives. So A Course in Miracles is really the topic, or the help that we use on this call. We have a conversation around the teachings of the course, and what the course teaches really is freedom. Freedom, and how do we achieve freedom? How do we achieve peace? And that really comes from practice. The practice of remembering that we are part of this infinite intelligence. We are a part of God's plan. So if we are to recognize that we are a part of God's plan, then we must always look up. We always look um to God. Or if you're not comfortable with the word God, what else? What other words can you replace it with to make yourself a little more comfortable? But we ask, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to whom? If throughout the entire day that is our come from, and we remember that, we start to find our place in this perfect system that's already been created for us. But what happens is the ego is really loud, and a part of our mind that's chatting all the time, that is in conflict with the perfect universe, comes in and says, I know what to do here. I know that I need to make a sale here so that I can get some money, so I can pay my bills. I know that people should be this way or that way, or this is how my kids need to be raised, and even more than that, this is how other people should raise their kids. This is how we should treat the environment. This We should eat meat. We shouldn't eat meat. I mean, we just come in and just throw problems in a lot of places where there are not problems, and this can be applied to all the different areas of your lives, right? It can apply to the small things. And of course, there is no small things. All all problems and all loss of peace, no matter how small you think um, it is. What you doing? Oh, it is equally disturbing to your mind. All of it. If you lose your peace over the smallest little thing versus the entire world coming down, it's all part of your perception, and it's equally disturbing to your mind. Okay, but the ego's like, no, 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 this is okay. We can handle this part, but this other part of our lives, this is big and this is stressful. So all of that really comes to our judgments, right? Our judgments is what makes us think if something is grand or something is little. And I want to start our call today. Again, this is one of my favorite sections of the course, and even the whole faith section of the course that requires my opinion and judgment, right? But I read this all the time. It helps me. So I feel like it's a good place for us to start this morning, is how judgment is relinquished. See, our judgment is what gets in the way of everything. And if that's the case, hang on. If that's the case, then how do we relinquish it? How do we bring more peace into our lives by relinquishing the judgments? Wait, let me mute this. Sorry. Okay, and for anybody that is watching on Facebook or wherever, you can also comment. Right, you can make comments and ask questions there, or you can join our Zoom meetings in the future. Maybe let me see if I can even throw this out there right now. But you can ask questions. A lot of times questions is where these calls get really, really juicy. There's no accidents that you're here watching this. There must be some part of you that's drawn to what is going to be said here, and it's up to you to find the golden nugget today. And it is my intentions, and maybe we'll do a little prayer that our minds and our hearts are open enough today. Dear God, reveal to us what's in the way. What's in the way of our peace? Let me be aware of my judgments today. Let me be aware of the judgments, the thoughts, the loud voices in my head that gets in the way of remembering you, remembering myself. Let me be open enough to hear the messages. Let me clear my channel so that the download, there is no clogs or no resistances to the downloads. Let me have the courage and the confidence to trust in you. Let me remember that the source of my happiness does not come from anything but you. The source of my income also does not come from anything but you. And as you remember on a larger level, on a bigger level, cosmic level, that no matter what we do, we are just doing what you have us do. And there's no free will in that. It only seems like we have free will to do these things, but we're doing is just different forms of the same thing. So help us recognize that this is what we're doing so that we may gracefully and peacefully do your will. Amen. Okay. So we'll start with this section. Okay, I'll read a little bit, open up for comments. This is a very this part really supports me every single day, and I remember it. So I hope that it supports you here. All right, and it starts with, how is judgment relinquished? This is in the manual for teachers. For anybody that doesn't see, this is the course. This is the book right here. Okay. How is judgment relinquished? Judgment, like other devices by which the world of illusions is maintained, is totally misunderstood by the world. It is actually confused with wisdom and substitutes for truth. As the world uses the term, it is an individual is capable of good and bad judgment, and his education aims at strengthening the former and minimizing the latter. Our judgment, and we think that our education is to make more good judgments and less bad judgments, right? I mean, this is when we go into anything, we use the past as a way to learn from our mistakes. We think that that's what we're doing. We think that our experience and our education is to help us make more good judgments and less bad judgments, that we're even capable of making these. So it actually has good and bad in quotation marks. There is, however, considerable confusion about what these categories mean. What is good judgment to one person is bad to another. Further, even the same person classifies the same action as showing good judgment at one time and bad judgment in another. I mean, this is how often our mind vacillates back and forth. And collectively, I can think something is a good judgment, it's a good choice based on my values and my beliefs and all the stuff from my past, that your decision right now and your actions is a good one. And then somebody else can come along and say the exact same action, same thoughts or whatever is a bad one. And then the other part of it is that at one point I can say that your action and your words is a good judgment, and then 10 minutes later I can say no, 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 it's a bad one. So we act as if our judgments are the truth, right? We act like we confuse it with wisdom. We think that the way that we project our judgments is actually wisdom. But the course is telling you right now why this is an insane thought, that you're even capable of making good and bad judgments. One of the earlier lessons in the course, it says that I do not perceive my own best interest. Okay. I don't perceive my own best interest because I can't judge what's good and what's really bad. I think I can. So it's already showing that how insane this thought is, that you could at one minute think that your judgment, I mean your actions and your doing is good, and then 10 minutes later realize that, oh my god, this is bad, with more information, right? And then also coming together with our brothers and sisters, uh we have different judgments of whether something is good or bad. So if you're just joining us, we're in the back of the manual for teachers for A Course in Miracles. How is judgment relinquished? So at any time, the student may disagree with what his would-be teacher says about them. And the teacher himself may be inconsistent in what he believes. Good judgment in these terms does not mean anything. No more does bad. It is necessary for the teacher of God to realize not that he should not judge, but that he cannot judge. Okay? It's not a conversation of whether we should make judgments or if we should be judging things or not. It's that we don't even actually have the capability to judge, because we look at the world from a little tiny speck and we don't really know what's going on. We're making judgments based on a small, tiny picture that we see. Oftentimes, we make a judgment, and when the whole picture is shown to us, or even just a bigger piece of the picture is shown to us, we're like, ah, man, I was stupid to make that judgment. So, not that you should not judge, but that you're not capable of judging. So, the teacher of God must realize that not that he should not judge, but that he cannot judge. In giving up judgment, he is merely giving up what he did not have. So a lot of times we think, oh man, if I give up my judgment, then what is it like? What am I sacrificing here? There must be sacrifices. So sacrifices, the idea that we have to sacrifice anything, will create resistance for us to do what's best for us. Right. So the course is saying that when you're giving up judgment, you're giving up what you did not actually have in the first place. So don't worry about it. He gives up, and actually, you know what? Today I'm going to replace all the he's with she's again. It was pretty fun, so I'll do it again. She gives up an illusion, or better, she has an illusion of giving up. You are not giving up anything. You just have an illusion that you are having to give up your judgments. She has, I'll get to you in 1 second, Lenka. She has actually merely become more honest, recognizing that judgment was always impossible for her. She no longer attempts it. This is no sacrifice. On the contrary, she puts herself in a position where judgment through her rather than by her can occur. And this judgment is neither good nor bad. It is the only judgment there is, and it is the only one. God's children is guiltless, and sin does not exist. So, okay, I'll pause right here, and the next part is really good too, but I'll pause and let Lanka, you can ask the question. Go for it.
Okay. So I'm finding, everything coming down to judgment, that this whole journey, I've literally just transferred my judgment from one type to another. So I recognize that we can't control our thoughts. They just sort of fire away. But what I'm noticing is in my awareness of there's a judgment in that, there's a judgment in that, there's a judgment in that. I notice that I'm judging myself for having a judgment. And I'm trying to figure out, and I don't know if you can kind of share what you do, but when I have this awareness that that was just a judgmental thought, I then judge myself for judging. Like I'm struggling with, let's just look at it as neutral. It just is what it is.
Yep.
Because I can feel that I lose my peace when I'm aware that I'm looking at something in a judgmental way. So, yeah.
So, hang on, let me bring this back. Okay, so there's a part of the chorus that says, the darkness of this world began in the moment when the child of God forgot to laugh. And when we remember to laugh again, the world will be healed. So, this judgment brings darkness. This judgment brings confusion. Now, from that statement right there, how do we heal this darkness? We laugh. We laugh at it. See, there's a judgment that makes it bad and wrong, but if we start to just recognize, see, it's great. You have an awareness that it's happening. There is a consciousness that is really watching our lives. And that's who you really are. You're not really this body. All the things that you've ever done in your life, all the pain, all the joy has been associated with the body. Now, the practice is who's been witnessing Alex's life play out. Let me go back to that. The judgment happens from this meat suit, from this ego that's attached to this meat suit. Now, I am the consciousness that is aware of what Alex has been doing, and I don't judge it because I can step back and I just enjoy the ride. I just watch the ride. It's connected to the collective consciousness of the whole. And this is why sometimes we can tap into this synergetic divine feeling, but we don't really know what the plan is, but we have to trust. So from that space, recognize when you see self-judging, there's a moment for forgiveness right there. It's a moment for you to forgive. And at one time, you judged yourself harshly for making a mistake. And the answer here is that you are guiltless, and the sin or the mistake that you think you've committed has not really happened. So then you have an opportunity to forgive yourself in that moment for what you're about to do, to crucify yourself for making a mistake. All right, so you're judging yourself for judging. That is the ego being really smart and crucifying itself for what it's done. And what you do to yourself, you will do to others. And what you do to others, you will do to yourself. So the healing in this moment, that you can heal the entire world by just changing this bad judgment to laughter. And you just practice laughing at oh, here I go again. Here I go again. You know, this is why I can laugh all the time. I laugh all the time because I'm judging all the time. It's the changing of our relationship to our triggers. It's the changing of our relationship to the things that we feel like is really holding us back. You know, all the stories that we tell ourselves of ourselves our entire lives is not true. These are all ideas that we have given too much energy to, and has it grown too much? Everything is an idea, including money is an idea. So if you keep telling yourself the same stories, the same victim stories, your results will always be the same because you're reinforcing and making this idea bigger. If you always tell yourself that you're unhealthy, you will manifest lots and lots of health problems to create evidence for yourself that you are right. The more you give energy to something and more thought to an idea, the idea grows. The more you share the idea, now the idea grows even more because more people believe in it. If I keep telling everybody that I'm sick, then I will really actually become sick. I mean, there's so many quotation mark miracle stories of people that literally willed themselves to sickness. And then there's also a whole ton of stories of people that willed themselves from sickness to health again, by completely giving up all the stories. So all of our judgments, it really comes from the stories that we've carried with us our whole lives. So now in this moment, and I always say this moment can teach you everything you need to know about this moment. You don't need to bring anything from the past to this moment to make a good judgment in this moment. And the judgment is to allow the judgment to flow through you, right? This judgment is the only judgment. It occurs from God through you, and it's neither good nor bad. So I hope that supports you. Just, being aware of it, and your forgiveness and healing is to be able to change how you normally react to catching yourself judging to something different. And now you're rewriting the story. You're creating a new chain of events by starting to laugh at yourself for being silly. You didn't make a mistake. There was no sin that happened just because you judged. And as you do that, you start to have more compassion and more empathy for others as well. You start to develop the gratitude of these events from happening. You're changing your relationship to what you once thought was a no-no to now, oh, it's showing me. I can be grateful to this teaching moment. I can be grateful to this teacher.
And yeah, that really helps. That really helps a lot. Thank you. I think that like I had a judgment not towards you, but as I was listening to you, my mind like traveled really quickly to somebody, and I had a judgment, and then I came back, and then I was applying some of the reminders you just gave. And what I notice is that when I have that feeling of guilt at the moment of the judgment, and I intentionally use it as a teaching moment, I think my problem is the negative emotion that I felt from the guilt still remains for a little while. So I think that, and so in my mind, I'm like, okay, it's not working, and I'm really not buying into what the truth is here, because that emotion that comes from guilt is still remaining, even though I'm consciously applying the teachings. So, yeah, but this does help.
Yeah. It takes practice. Like in the beginning, you'll feel very inauthentic about what you're doing. You'll feel inauthentic about your experience. But at some point, boom, there'll be a click when you genuinely give up all of the judgments. When you've genuinely done it, when you're first doing something, of course, you're going to feel like an imposter or inauthentic. Like when we do commercial real estate and things that I teach about real estate, in the beginning, everybody feels that way. And also, if anything that we're teaching others and that we're getting ourselves into a position of teaching or sharing, there is a part of us that will say, do you think you're good enough for this? Right? I mean, all this judgment starts coming up. So because and then you'll feel like, I need to expand myself. I need to brag a little bit more. I need to talk about something. I need to expand it. I need to show myself as being further than I really am. So sometimes that ends up happening. Again, no judgments for it, but only to recognize what's holding ourselves back. So right now you may feel inauthentic about, oh, I'm some people will call it like spiritual bypassing, but I'm just changing the thought system around it. I'm just laughing at it now, but I still have the experience. But you can't actually trust your feelings. That's the thing. So you can't trust your feelings because your feelings come from your perception of what's going on. Your perception comes from your beliefs, which are stories from your past, which don't even exist. So then what you're feeling right now, you cannot actually trust it. You can change that feeling over time to something. You know, when the first time we get on, let's say, a roller coaster, the first time we get on a roller coaster, there's a certain experience and certain feeling. There's a whole ton of fear because of all the ideas and maybe stuff we heard in the past, and all the fear comes up. But if you ride that same roller coaster 100 times, that feeling is going to change. So then which one is the real feeling? Which feeling should you actually have getting on a roller coaster? And so it takes practice.
Yeah. If you're saying peace and calm, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the higher it is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I would be really.
But as you sit on more of the roller coasters, you'll realize, well, this is all the same. I mean, I'm pretty safe up here. Nothing's ever happened. Now you're rewriting a whole new story to the experience of roller coaster. And by the time you get on it the 100th time, you don't have that fear that you had on the first time. You might be completely calm and peaceful. It's the same exact thing as right now dealing with our judgments. I see it. I am judging myself. I feel bad about doing it. And now I'm going to laugh at it. But laughing at it feels very inauthentic in this moment. Well, do it 100 times. Catch yourself 100 times, and it'll become real. You know, we've had a whole, whatever, how many years that you've lived, all of us, of stories of living inside this world. Now, the healing and the remembering of heaven happens in a moment. And that's just, every moment has that possibility, but when you truly give it over and you recognize that I can't actually judge. So I'll continue, just finish up this reading here, and then we will get back to the questions, and then we're going to do some parts in chapter 8, and then we will wrap it up. But take something away from this call today. Anybody that is watching, if you're watching the replay, take something away. Every time I join a webinar, I take a class, I'm looking for the one thing I can take away to practice. I don't need to remember the entire thing. That's too stressful. Take one thing away. That's it. All right. So make it very easy for yourself. Just listen to the one thing that you're like, I think that is relatable to something in my life. Let me practice that. Let me bring a little bit more peace. Because again, there is no a little bit. Just like all losing of peace is equally disturbing to your mind, all additions of love is maximum extensions of love. All the miracles, all the shifting from fear to joy, from fear to love, any little tiny part that you think is maximum extensions of love, and you will never know how far this miracle will travel and how many lives it will touch. Okay, so just practice a little one thing. Maybe I'm going to be a little bit nicer to my husband today. Maybe I'll be a little bit nicer to my kid today, whatever. Okay, let me just not judge the same things that I've been judging and complaining about every single day. Aren't we tired of it ourselves? Sheesh. So, the aim of our curriculum, unlike the goal of the world's learning, is the recognition that judgment in the usual sense is impossible. So again, it's not really that hard, right? It's really not that hard to give this up when you recognize that I didn't have it in the first place. This was all just some illusion of thinking I had some sort of control and that I could judge anything. So the aim of the curriculum, it's the recognition that judgment in the usual sense is actually impossible. This is not an opinion, but a fact. In order to judge anything rightly, so here, I've said this a bunch of times, but if you really listen to this part, you should be able to take away from it that I have never been able to judge anything correctly in my entire life. In order to judge anything rightly, one would have to be fully aware of an inconceivably wide range of things, past, present, and to come. One would have to recognize in advance all the effects of his judgment on everyone and everything involved in them in any way. And one would have to be certain there is no distortion in her own perception so that her judgment will be wholly fair to everyone whom it rests now and in the future. Who is in a position to do this? Who except a grandiose who except in grandiose fantasy would claim this for herself? I mean, who can actually say that every judgment that we've made, we are aware of everything that is happening in the past, present, and in the future, forever into the future, of everyone that could possibly be involved? I have to be certain that I have no distortions in any of my perceptions. And of course, just that itself, our perceptions are always distorted because it only comes from stories that we've gathered in the past, our experiences. And we didn't even experience our past. The past did not happen the way that we actually even experienced it. It's just one, it's looking through an individual lens of Alex. Marianne Williamson was like, I thought my parents, when I was young, I thought I had a certain perception of their relationship because all I saw was fighting and this and that and about money. That was my perception of my childhood. But my childhood and that's my perception of my parents' relationship. But that wasn't even it. When she did some therapy and did some letting go of that idea, she found letters from her dad to her mom, loving, romantic letters, and it completely shattered her idea of what was even that relationship that she had in her mind. So our entire past is basically that same thing. We have an idea and a perception of how our past played out, but we have no freaking clue because we looked at it from one side. We looked at from one side of infinite amount of sides to look at this. So our perception came from our judgment of what's going on. And again, the reminder that you actually can't even judge what's going on because you're looking through, you don't have the whole picture. So you're not capable of even judgment. So you're not really letting go and giving up anything. You're giving up something that you've never had in the first place. Okay, so the realization of that really can be like, oh, well, I'm judging. I'm just being silly right now. There is no sin to it because I can't actually even do it. I'm just pretending I can do it. There's no problems with that. Right? Just because I'm not good at basketball doesn't mean I can't go out and take a ball and try to shoot it into the hoop. So again, who's in the position to make a judgment? So the next time that you're about to make a judgment on what's good and bad, what should happen, what shouldn't happen, ask yourself, do I have full awareness of these wide range of things, past, present, and all to come? Do I have in advance, do I know and recognize in advance all the effects of my judgments on everyone and everything involved in any way? No, not even close. Right? All of us can say this. And so the Course makes this so clear. Remember how many times you thought you knew all the facts you needed for a judgment and how wrong you were. Now, if you don't have this, if you can't remember a time where your judgment was false, then you may have a little tiny bit more work to do in just recognizing your judgment in the first place right now. Is there anyone who have not had this experience? Oh, well, I guess probably all of us have had this experience where we judge something and we realize, ooh, sorry for that judgment because I was wrong. Okay, I didn't even have the right evidence to make a judgment about what's going on. Is there anyone who has not had this experience? I mean, so many movies are basically written on this exact thing, right? Would you know how many times you merely thought you were right without ever recognizing you were wrong? Why would you choose such an arbitrary basis for decision making? Wisdom is not judgment. It is the relinquishment of judgment. Make then but one more judgment. It is this: there is someone with you whose judgment is perfect. She does not know all the facts she does know all the facts, past, present, and to come. She does know all the effects of her judgments on everyone and everything involved in every way. And she is wholly fair to everyone, for there is no distortion in her perception. Again, when I'm replacing him and his for her right now, I'm talking about God. God's got all these judgments. Therefore, lay your judgment down, not with regret, but with a sigh of gratitude. Now you are free of a burden so great that you could merely stagger and fall beneath it. And it was all an illusion, nothing more. Now can the teacher of God rise up unburdened and walk lightly on. Yet it is only this that is her benefit. Her sense of care is gone, for she has none. She has given it away along with her judgment. She gave herself to her, capital her, to God, whose judgment has chosen now to trust instead of in her own. Now now she makes no mistakes. Her guide is sure, and where she came to judge, she now comes to bless. Where now she laughs, where she used to weep. So listen, if the entire world, if the burden of the world rests on your shoulders, then your anxiety and your depression and all of your problems seem to be justified. Okay. But since none of that stuff even rests on your shoulders, stop giving yourself that responsibility that you need to even judge things, because you can't. It is not difficult to relinquish judgment, but it is difficult indeed to try to keep it. Yeah. See, oh my God. Wow. That is a line right there. It's not difficult to give up and relinquish the judgment, but it is difficult indeed to try to keep it. See, our struggle is in the trying to hold on and keep something that we don't actually have. To have the illusion, to hold on to an illusion of having something that we don't have. It is exhausting, no? To uphold an illusion. And so this is an indication of us holding on to illusion every time we have to try so hard to hold on to an idea. We have to keep defending and reinforcing an idea. We can say, okay, that's an illusion. Okay, it was my perception of something I'm trying to hold on to, which is not even real in the first place. It's just an idea. Okay, it's not the truth. The teacher of God lays it down happily, and the instant she recognizes its cost, all the ugliness she sees about her is its outcome. All the pain she looks upon is its results. All the loneliness and sense of loss, of passing time and growing hopeless, of sickening despair and fear of death, all have come from it. And now she knows that these things need not be. Not one is true, for she has given up their cause, and they, which never were, the effects of her mistaken choice, have fallen from her. Teacher of God, this step will bring you peace. Can it be difficult to want but this? So if you want peace, you have to realize that you are incapable of making judgments. Okay, every time you're about to crucify a brother, crucify a sister, crucify a child of God, realize that you don't have this power. It's false. Okay, pause for a moment. Take questions. I mean, how many of all of our depressing thoughts, our anxieties, our lack of confidence, all the limiting beliefs, all this stuff, it just merely comes from our judgment of ourselves, of not being good enough. And where does that all come from? That comes from us comparing to everything else in the past, in the moment. That comes from us thinking that we know what's wrong and what's right with the world. That I can even play God. I'll play God. Move over, God. Let me sit on the throne. I'll tell you what's right. I'll tell you what's wrong. Literally, every time you judge somebody, that's what you're doing. If you really look at that, I mean, this is why you can laugh at it. Here I go again, trying to kick God off the throne so that I can sit on it, and because I know better. If that's not laughable, I don't know what else. What is? So instead of judging yourself or judging, because that just can go on forever, you just laugh. Like, oops, here I go again. Oops, I did it again. Just, have the Britney Spears song going on in the back of your head. Oops, I did it again. Right? And then you just make it more fun and more light. See, you know that you are being blessed by God when you can truly laugh at something, when there is joy. Joy is one of the channels, indicators that you are doing God's work. Your will is aligned with God's will, and your work for yourself, you're doing the right thing when you can laugh and you can bring joy to what you do. And you can laugh at yourself for judging and for making mistakes, quotation mark mistakes, because there are no mistakes. It was never a mistake. It was meant to be. Okay, so we believe in love. We believe in it was meant to be. We don't believe in those things only. We make exceptions. See, our judgments get in the way. Nope, this is not a moment. This is not love. That's not love. No, 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 no. Okay, and we from our mouths we say, "Oh yeah, I believe this is meant to be, meant to be," and then but we don't believe in meant to be only. Everything is meant to be, and if we believe everything is meant to be, then we can rest. We can rest in the. I don't need to get in the way of this. I don't know the outcomes of this. I know everything's got a little bit of spirit in it. I just have to recognize it. What is this saying to me? What is spirit speaking to me about this thing? About the decisions that I'm making? Okay, so I do business this way too. I have feelings inside like this is who I should work with. I need to start working with this person more. I see a little bit of the light in this person's eye in the way they share that resonates with me, and I'm attracted to it, and I will go to it with full confidence. Now, I'm always keeping my mind open to what am I supposed to learn here? Where am I supposed to go? So I'll give you an example, okay? And this comes in real estate. So when I was moving from Miami to Las Vegas, I drove. I bought a Tesla in Florida and I decided to drive to Vegas. My wife, Love, was already waiting for me here. I joined Grant Cardone's real estate club and I start investing in people's deals. Like I want to be noticed. Like one of the things Grant says is like it's not about who you know, it's who knows you. So I'm like, I want people to know me. So I started this big WhatsApp group. I'm very active in it. I'm investing with people, and somebody messages me. John Sidoti is his name. He messages me at midnight. Okay, this is if you know John, I know John. 9 p.m. is past his bedtime, and this is around midnight. He messages me. I don't know him. I never met him. He says, "Hey, do you want to do a deal? You want to get into some deals?" I was like, "Yeah, that's what I joined the club. Like I want to do bigger. I've been doing single families up to quadplexes my whole life. I'm ready to go into this big multifamily deal. Give me a shot." And he's like, "Well, we're looking at this deal in Shreveport, Louisiana." Sends me a picture. I'm like, "This looks like an amazing building." You know where I am? I'm actually at this point, midnight, parked. My car is parked in Shreveport, Louisiana at a supercharger charging my car. He messages me and asks me if I've never met him, if I want to do a deal in Shreveport, Louisiana. I'm like, this is freaking weird. I don't know him, but I'm going to be full in with whatever he's doing. This is divine intervention right here. I must explore this relationship. I'm like, let's go. We didn't end up doing the deal in Shreveport, but we did 3 deals together right after that, immediately. Okay. And now recently, I just had another experience like this about a deal in Tampa. I'm like, this is it. Okay, I gotta do this. I gotta explore this somehow. So I tell my team now. John and Mike and these guys are on my team. Okay, we've done deals together. We're very close now. And I'm like, guys, we got to do this deal. I'm like, this is the same feeling that I'm having. Now, I don't know if actually it's a deal that I have to do, but there's something I got to explore about this deal. So we bring together ourselves and the new bigger team that we've been working with, and we have this amazing call. Okay, we had this amazing call last night. I learned so much, brought me so much clarity about the direction that I want to go in real estate for me. See, I'm always guided. See, this is the thing. I'm not the source of my success. I'm not the source of my success. God is the source of it. God has shown it to me. I didn't do any of this. And so maybe it's not the deal that I have to get into in Tampa, but it's the conversation that we had to have last night was the reason why I was shown all of this. So, this is why it's about being open and being open to receiving and having a clear channel. The Course says our only problem really is this blockage, this communication issue that we have with Source. We're always in conflict and resistance with Source, like we know what's better, but whether or not you believe it or not, it's still, life is going to play out the way it's going to play out. All right. So I'll stop for a moment and take any questions, any thoughts about what we've been talking about. Can't judge a book by its cover, says Razul. Can't judge it by its cover or its contents or by anything, because I can't judge in the first place. Everything is a cover. How's that? All right. Okay, then. We will move on to chapter 8. We are slowly trucking through this book. Maybe we'll do 2 sections in chapter 8 today. Let's get a little crazy. So, good morning, Natalia. Welcome. Chapter 8, The Journey Back. Section 5, The Undivided Will of the Sonship. Can you be separated? Wait, actually, before that. Okay, nothing. Just kidding. Can you be separated from your identification and be at peace? Disassociation is not a solution. It is a delusion. Ooh, that rhymes. The delusional belief that truth will assail them, and they do not recognize it because they prefer the delusion. Judging truth as something they do not want, they perceive their illusions, which blocks knowledge. Help them by offering them your unified mind on their behalf, as I am offering you mine on the behalf of yours. Alone, we can do nothing, but together our minds fuse into something whose power is far beyond the power of its separated parts. This is a mastermind. It's speaking about a mastermind. Okay, let's see. So even the Course talks about masterminds. I love masterminds. I'm always doing masterminds. I'm always joining masterminds. I run a mastermind myself. So here, alone we can do nothing, but together our minds fuse into something more powerful, whose power is far beyond the power of its separate parts. By not being separate, the mind of God is established in ours and as ours. The mind is invincible because it is undivided. So it's kind of like 2 minds. When 2 minds come together, we recognize that third mind, the part of us that's witnessing, and the part of us that's actually more intelligent. When we can come together with a purpose, a sense of direction together, a similar goal, there's a third mind that comes out from joining of the two. So the Course always teaches and says we walk home in pairs. We walk home in pairs. I love it because it's about bringing people together. It's about recognizing yourself by recognizing others. Okay. The undivided will of the sonship is the perfect creator, being holy in the likeness of God, whose will it is. You cannot be exempt from it if you are to understand what it is and what you are. By the belief that your will is separate from mine, you are exempting yourself from the will of God, which is yourself. Yet to heal is still to make whole. Therefore, to heal is to unite with those who are like you, because perceiving this likeness is to recognize the mother or the father. If your perfection is in her and only in her, how can you know it without recognizing her? The recognition of God is the recognition of yourself. There is no separation of God and her creations. You will realize this when you understand that there is no separation between your will and mine. Let the love of God shine upon you by your acceptance of me. My reality is yours and hers. By joining your mind with mine, you are signifying your awareness that the will of God is one. God's oneness and ours are not separate because her oneness encompasses ours. To join me in this is to restore her power to you because we are sharing it. I offer you only the recognition of her power in you, but in that lies all truth. As we unite with her. Glory be to the union of God and her holy children. All glory lies in them because they are united. The miracles we do bear witness to the will of the mother and her children, and to our joy in uniting with her will for us. When you unite with me, you are uniting without the ego, because I have renounced the ego in myself and therefore cannot unite with yours. Our union is therefore the way to renounce the ego in you. The truth in both of us is beyond the ego. Our success in transcending the ego is guaranteed by God, and I share this confidence for both of us and all of us. I bring God's peace back to all her children because I have received her for all of us. Nothing can prevail against our united wills because nothing can prevail against God's. Would you know the will of God for you? Ask it for me. Ask it of me who know it for you, and you will find it. I will deny you nothing as God denies me nothing. Ours is simply the journey back to God, who is our home. Whenever fear intrudes anywhere along the road to peace, it is because the ego has attempted to join the journey with us and cannot do so. Every time we lose our peace, it's the ego trying to join us, and it can't. So then we lose our shit. The ego throws a fit. Sensing defeat and anger by it, the ego regards itself as rejected and becomes retaliative. You are invulnerable to this retaliation because I am with you. On this journey, you have chosen me as your companion instead of the ego. Do not attempt to hold on to both, or you will try to go in different directions and lose your way. The ego's way is not mine, but it is also not yours. The Holy Spirit has one direction for all minds, and the one she taught me is yours. Let us not lose sight of her direction through illusions, for only illusions of another direction can obscure the one for which God's voice speaks in all of us. Never accord the ego the power to interfere with this journey. It has none, because the journey is the way to what is true. Leave all illusions behind and reach beyond all attempts of the ego to hold you back. I go before you because I am beyond the ego. Reach therefore for my hand because I want to transcend the ego. My strength will never be wanting, and if you choose to share it, you will do so. I give it willingly and gladly because I need you as much as you need me. This is our brother Jesus speaking to us, saying that, hey, I've been there, I've gone there. Here's my hand. Take my hand. And this is something that the course shares to us in this way, and I remember it all the time. And when I do my calls, when I do my masterminds, when I teach people how to underwrite, when I teach people how to get to where I am financially, there's no like wanting or manipulating or I need you to go there. It's here's my hand, whoever wants to take it, take it. Okay, let's go together. I'm ready to go together. Here's my hand. But I can't force you to do it. I can wait for you to grab my hand and join me along on this road. But I can't do it for you. And the last section, actually, this is what I thought about reading, but maybe this is now the best time to read, is if you want to be like me, I will help you, knowing that we are alike anyways. If you want to be different, I will wait until you change your mind. My hand will be out here reaching and then just here, take it anytime that you want. I can teach you, but only you can choose to listen to my teachings. So my hand is out and it's supporting whoever wants to. Now, my vehicle seems to be in real estate, seems to be in finances, but is it really? Oops. It's actually for me to bring more love into my life in every day, everything that I do. And I know I do that by helping you bring more love into your life. That's the only way to do it. We have to do it together. Okay. Thoughts, questions. Okay, Lenka. See ya later. Okay, then. We shall move on. Ooh, look at this. We might even get through 3 sections. That's never happened on this call before. We've done 2. Oh, whoa. The 3rd section is long. Okay, then. We'll just continue to truck along. And for anybody that's joining new, we're talking about Course in Miracles, how it relates to other things that I do in my life, how it relates to real estate, relates to business, relates to all relationships. Okay, so yeah, we'll move on. Continue on chapter 8, the journey back. So welcome again for anybody that just is joining us or is rewatching this part. The treasure of God, section 6 of chapter 8. We are the joint will of the sonship. So the sonship is all of the children. Maybe it's called the childrenship, the childship. Okay, all the children of God coming together, remembering that there is only one, is the sonship that the course is talking about when it says sonship. One ship, where all the sons of God, or children of God, are together. In memory, in thoughts, and of all time. We are the joint will of the sonship, whose wholeness is for all. We begin the journey back by setting out together and gather in our brothers and sisters as we continue together. Every gain in our strength is offered to all, so they too can lay aside their weakness and add their strength to us. God's welcome waits for all of us, and she will welcome us as I am welcoming you. Forget not the kingdom of God for anything the world has to offer. The world can add nothing to the power of the glory of God and her holy children, but it can blind the children to the mother if they behold it. So we could be blind to it. You cannot behold the world and know God. The vision of one world costs you the vision of the other. Okay, you either know heaven or you don't. Until you recognize and remember heaven, you're always in hell. Bold statement, but sometimes only bold statements will land. Yet God did not will the destruction of her creation, having created them for eternity. Her will has saved you, not from yourself, but from your illusion of yourself. She has saved you for yourself. Let us glorify her whom the world denies, for over her kingdom the world has no power. No one created by God can find joy in anything except the eternal. Not because she is deprived of anything else, but because nothing else is worthy of her. What God and her children create is eternal, and in this is only is their joy. So we think we find joy in the things that only last a short period of time. We can enjoy them, but we don't want to become enslaved to them. Money, cars, what else? In your life. Where do you make God of something that is not? Where do you give your power to? What are you making special? See, specialness. What are you making special that's going to have you lose your peace? Because it's not eternal. Where does our peace lie? Our peace lies in eternity. Eternal thoughts, eternal things that are eternal. Listen to this story of the prodigal son and learn what God's treasure is and yours. The son of a loving father left his home and thought he had squandered everything. Hang on 1 second. I just want to circle this section because I lose it all the time. Like, where is this story of the prodigal son in the course? Not in the Bible, but in the course. The son of a loving father left his home and thought he had squandered everything for nothing of any value. Although he had not understood its worthlessness at the time, he was ashamed to return to his father because he thought he had hurt him. Yet when he came home, the father welcomed him with joy because the son himself was the father's treasure. He wanted nothing else. God only wants his son because his son is his only treasure. So that's us. You want your creations as he wants his. Your creations are your gift to the Holy Trinity, created in gratitude for your creation. They do not leave you any more than you have left your creator, but they extend your creation as God extended himself to you. Can the creation of God himself take joy in what is not real? And what is real except the creation of God and those that are created like his? Oops, I went back to the he again. Oh well, I guess we'll just be a he for now. Your creations love you as much as you love your Father for the gift of creation. There is no other gift that is eternal, and therefore there is no other gift that is true. How then can you accept anything else or give anything else except joy in return? And what else but joy would you want? You made neither yourself nor your function. You made only the decision to be unworthy of both. You did not make yourself or your function in this world. The only decision you have made is that you are not worthy of both. This is why we live in pain and we live in anxiety and we live in depression, because we think we are not worthy of the gift of God. It's just too grand. We have some guilt around it that we can't accept it. And then we block ourselves from the abundance that is rightfully ours. You made only the decision to be unworthy of both. Yet you cannot make yourself unworthy because you are the treasure of God. And what he values is valuable. Agreed? Yeah. There can be no question of its worth because its value lies in God's sharing himself with it and establishing its value forever. Your function is to add to God's treasure by creating yours. His will to you is his will for you. He would not withhold creation from you because his joy is in it. You cannot find joy except as God does. His joy lays in creating you, and he extends his fatherhood to you so that you can extend yourself as he did. So, what is our function? Our function is to extend us, who is both worthy and or worthy of ourselves and worthy of the function that we are here to do. You do not understand this because you do not understand him. No one who does not accept his function can understand what it is, and no one can accept his function unless he knows what it is. Creation is the will of God. His will created you to create. Your will was not created separate from his. So you must will as he wills. You see, this is the communication channel that I was talking about. The only problem that you have is that you think you have a different will than God's will. That is our only problem, is that disconnect that somehow God wills something that's different from my will. And if you think about what's going on outside in the world, that's God's will. All of it. Everything that's happening is God's will. I must align myself to see and trust. Trusting is the name of the game. And this is actually why I love multifamily and I love real estate, because it's a game of trust. Yesterday, someone asked me, okay, I've watched you long enough. I'll do whatever it takes to join your team. I want to trust you completely. I'm just going to trust you completely. Tell me exactly what to do. So I drew out exactly what to do. I'm teaching you to trust in the game, to trust in me. But really, it's not to trust in me, it's to trust in God. That we have somehow met, not by accident. That you can trust me and I can trust you. I will place my trust in you. Because as I show you to trust, I am learning to trust myself. Okay, I'm aligning my will to the will of God's. And if that's and I know that I will not disappoint because my will is true. If I place my source of happiness and joy in money, then there may be an incongruency. There's a blockage to source, because money itself is an idea, is an illusion, and it could be misguided. But if money is not my motivation, if God is my motivation, if God is your motivation, I can trust you. Makes sense? Because there won't be ego that gets in. I mean, the ego will show up, but as long as you know where to look, it's like in any relationship. If you're in a relationship with your spouse, it's about two people coming together and looking up at God, seeing each other and seeing God and recognizing themselves. But when I look at you and I want you to be something that you're not, I want you to fit into my ego of what I think this relationship should be and what this body will be happy. Now there is a level of manipulation that happens. And then we won't feel safe to trust each other anymore. And then that can grow. If you don't practice, if you don't get in the space of forgiveness, that will grow. And then relationships become, quotation marks, unsalvageable, and people have to split. Okay. Not even just split in the relationship, but like, I can't even be near you no more. Okay. Go somewhere else. Let me move across the country. Let me move somewhere else. Like, it gets that bad. We probably all have had altercations, fights, things like that with our parents, with people that are close to us. An unwilling will does not mean anything. Being a contradiction in terms that actually means nothing. When you think you're unwilling to the will of God, you are not thinking. God's will is thought, capital thought. It cannot be contradicted by your little thought. Okay? No ego thought can contradict God's thought. God does not contradict himself, and his children who are like him cannot contradict themselves nor him. Yet their thoughts is so powerful that they can even imprison the mind of other children of God if they choose so. This choice does make the Son's function unknown to him, but never to his creator. And because it is not unknown to his creator, it is forever knowable to him. So if we make mistakes, it's the knowing of it is available to us. We might not see it because God sees it. And we can always reconnect and bring our faith back to the divine anytime that we want. No matter how far we've gone, how many mistakes we've made, we can do it. There is no question but one you should ever ask yourself. Do I want to know my Father's will for me? That's the only question you ever have to ask. Do I want to know my Father's will for me? Do I want to know God's will for me? Every time you're in conflict, just ask yourself that question. He will not hide it. He has revealed it to me because I asked it of him and learned of what he has already given. So you actually got to ask. Sometimes we don't even ask. Who are we to ask? We're too small to ask. We diminish ourselves to ask. Only function is to work. Our only function is to work together, because apart from each other, we cannot function at all. And the ego, how loud is the ego? Whenever you're depressed or in your shit, don't you just want to go and be by yourself? Don't you want to just isolate yourself? It's the ego. And the more we isolate ourselves, we don't find the solution. We actually just have a pity party with ourselves. We go deeper. When Love and I get into a fight or something, it's so funny. Just the negative thoughts to just keep going, one after another, after another, after another. Even though a part of me is like, dude, are you done? When are you gonna return to love? I'll even laugh at myself for a second, and then I'll go right back into the cycle of insanity. The whole power of God's Son lies in all of us, but it's not in any part of us alone. God would not have us be alone because he does not will to be alone. This is why he created his children and gave him the power to create him. Our creation as the holy are as holy as we are, and we are the children of God himself, as holy as he is. Through our creations, we extend our love and thus increase the joy in the Holy Trinity. You do not understand this because you are God's own treasure. Do not regard yourself as valuable. See, we just get in our way again. We don't think we are worth the treasure. We don't think we are worth the function, so we get lost. Who are we to do this? You do not understand this because you, who are God's own treasure, do not regard yourself as valuable. Given this belief, you cannot actually understand anything. You get lost, you get stuck. I share with God the knowledge of the value he puts upon you. My devotion to you is of him, being born of my knowledge of myself and him. We cannot be separated. You and I cannot be separated. We cannot be separated, and God has joined all his children with him. Can you be separated from your life and your being? The journey to God is merely the reawakening of the knowledge of where we always were and what you are forever. It is a journey without distance to a goal and has never changed. Truth can only be experienced. It cannot be described and it cannot be explained. I can make you aware of the conditions of truth, but the experience of God, but the experience is of God. Together we can meet its conditions, but truth will dawn upon you of itself. So we could talk about all this all the time. I can show you the way. This is like I can bring a horse to the pond or to the oasis, but I can't force the horse to drink. This is the same way for all of. We can show people things, but the experience is of God. It's not of us. It's not our duty to make the horse drink the water. A part of us always wants that to happen. We lose our peace because we're like, dude, I brought the horse to the water and the horse won't drink the water. Now I lose my peace. So was I really giving or was I manipulating? And how do you take that analogy and put it to other areas of your life where you think you are giving to somebody, but really you're not? What God has will for you is yours. He has given you his will to his treasure. He has given his will to his treasure, whose treasure it is. Your heart lies where your treasure is, and so is his. You who are the beloved children of God are wholly blessed. Learn this for me and free the holy will of all those that are blessed as you are. I mean, we just got to come together. We return to heaven in pairs. You have to look at the people in your life. We do not have to go and change the whole world. Your ministry is to bring love to your surroundings, to your community, to the people around you. You bring more love in those places. Everything you do, ask yourself, did I bring more love to this space? Do I know my Father's will for me? Do I know God's will for me in this moment? And if I don't, what part of my own judgment do I need to let go of? Maybe I just need to stand up and get off the throne myself. Or maybe I just need to have the willingness to even ask. See, we don't even ask. We've diminished ourselves so much that we don't even ask. We're too proud to even ask. We're too stubborn to even ask. Any questions? What do I want to read here? What do I want to find? 9 minutes. Maybe we'll do something else from the manual for teachers. Okay, since we talked about joy, one of the characteristics of God's teachers, of you who choose to be a teacher of God, who choose to start listening, who choose to align your will now, one of the characteristics is joy, right? We talked about joy. So joy is the inevitable result of gentleness. Gentleness means that fear is now impossible, and what would come to interfere with joy? The open hands of gentleness are always filled. The gentle have no pain. They cannot suffer. Why would they be joyous? They are sure that they are beloved and must be safe. Joy goes with gentleness as surely as grief attends attack. God's teachers trust in him, and they are sure his teachers go before them, making sure no harm can come to them. They hold his gifts and follow his way because God's voice directs them in all things. Joy is their song of thanks, and Christ looks down on them in thanks as well. He needs of them. His need of them is just as great as their needs for him. How joyous it is to share the purpose of salvation together. So joy is our song of thanks. When we are joyous, we are actually in gratitude. We're giving thanks. Nice. Let's see what else. Ooh, okay. Generosity. All right, this is another characteristic. The term generosity has a special meaning to the teacher of God. It is not the usual meaning of the word. In fact, it is a meaning that must be learned and learned very carefully. Okay, so we got to remember this. Like all other attributes of God's teachers, this one results ultimately on trust. For without trust, no one can be generous in a true sense. To the world, generosity means giving away in the sense of giving up. To the teacher of God, it means giving away in order to keep. One of the teachings of the Holy Spirit is we keep, in order to keep something, you must give it away. So we are generous. Generosity means giving away so that I can, in order to keep it. This has been emphasized throughout the text and the workbook. and it is perhaps more alien to the thinking of the world than any other idea in this curriculum. Its greater strangeness lies merely in the observed obviousness of its reversal of the world's thinking. In the clearest way possible, and at the simplest level, the word means the exact opposite to the teacher of God as to the world. Being generous and giving up, giving something, is exact opposite as the way as we have it. The teacher of God is generous out of self-interest, not the lowercase self-interest, but the interest of God, capital self, our higher self. The teacher of God is generous out of capital higher self-interest. This does not refer, however, to the self in which the world speaks. The teacher of God does not want anything he cannot give away because he realizes it would be valueless to him by definition. What would he want it for? He could only lose because of it. He could not gain. Therefore, he does not seek what he could not keep, because this guarantees of its loss. He does not want to suffer. Why should he ensure himself pain? But he does want to keep for himself all the things that are of God, and therefore of his children. There are things that belong to him. These can be given away in true generosity, protecting it for forever for himself. So what we really want is love. What we really want is more joy, more peace in our lives. And the way that we can have that is by giving it away and sharing it. See, this is so foreign and so opposite to our world about giving. If you are not having enough joy in your life, go and give joy to somebody else. Go and give joy to something else. Go and give joy to a dog, to a pet, to your cat. And see if you don't have more joy. Okay, go and give more. The more you give, the more you will have. The only way to even have this joy is by giving it away. You try to hold on to it for yourself, it becomes manipulated. It starts to have dark energies around it. The ego gets a hold of it. And now what was once joyful is now painful. And so the course says and because of that process, we actually feel like we need to hold on to whatever joy we have left. We're like, man, all the good things get taken away from me. Yeah, it gets taken away because you try to hold on to it. The way that you hold on to something and you actually have and keep something, if you want more love, you must give it away. See, this is so foreign to this world. And it's going to take a whole ton of practice. Every day when you feel that you are in pain, you must go and give joy and give love and give peace to others. That's the way to have it. To have, give all to all. Then you'll find out what it is truly that you actually really wanted. Because it was never money. It was never the material things out here. It's never even the relationship. It's, I want love and peace. I want the peace of God. I want heaven, the peace of heaven in my mind. That's what I really want. How do you get it? You start to give that away. You start to let go of the judgments you have on everything. You start to align your will to the will of God's. And all the burden in your life starts to shed, and you start to feel more light, and you start to feel more peaceful. And as you feel more peaceful and feel more light, you recognize the godly divine connections with the people that are already in your life, and the new people walking into your life as well. Start to recognize that. And when you can follow it with full trust, miracles happen every single day. You are entitled to miracles every day. Let it be so. Stop fighting it. Stop trying to hold on to things that are not yours to hold on to. And stop holding on to things that you don't actually even want. You don't want all the pain. Of course, says we don't even know the difference between pain and joy. We must even give that up. So we'll close out now with a lesson that seems to be fitting to this moment. Okay, because it is this moment that will teach me everything I need to know about this moment. It is this moment that I can choose to have joy, to live in love. Lesson 227. Take a deep breath. I've talked a lot, so I need a deep breath. Bring myself back to a new moment, to this moment. This is my holy instant of release. This is our holy instant of release. Father, it is today that I am free because my will is yours. I thought to make another will, yet nothing that I thought apart from you exists. And I am free because I was mistaken and did not affect my own reality at all by my illusions. Now I give them up and lay them down before the feet of truth to be removed forever from my mind. This is the holy instant of release. Father, I know my will is one with yours. And so today we find our glad return to heaven, which we never really felt. The Son of God this day lays down his dreams. The Son of God this day comes home again, released from sins and clad in holiness, and his right mind restored to him at last. Your right mind restored to you at last. Thank you all very much. Amen. I hope. Thanks for joining me this morning. Appreciate you all. Many blessings. Much peace to you today. See you on Sunday.
Thank you.